Hello, guys. Hello, everyone from home. This is Guilherme, and we are on our second episode of IndustrialPOD. This podcast intends to help people and exchange ideas on the industrial sector, more about automation, instrumentation, and flow control. And on this episode, we have the pleasure to receive our first international guest, together with his business manager here in Brazil. The company of them is American and Chinese company. So welcome, Mr. Lee Fang and João Vitorino from FBV.
Thank you, Jeremy, to introduce me. Thank you for hosting this really nice event for me. And hopefully we can discuss a little bit the idea about the industry, and we will share the idea together. And hopefully we're going to have good results.
Nice. Welcome, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Guilherme, for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be here. And as Mr. Lee said, let's discuss some ideas about the market.
Nice. So first I want to tell you guys that it's very interesting, the story of Mr. Lee. I want that him to share with us a little bit. So how do you started with valves, Mr. Lee?
Actually, the valve is one of the places where they manufacture a lot in China called the Wenzhou City. So that's where I came from when I grew up there. So I have a lot of friends. They are making valves. And I started in New York. So
how old you are at that time?
I was in 26.
26
years, yeah.
Uh-huh. So two years ago, more or less, right? Because you look like 20 years.
I hope. It's been 60 years, time passed by fast, So back then, I was studying engineering. And then we started trying to do the business back in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did, because from the beginning, we don't have all the investment or that kind of stuff. So we started with a trading company, and back in 2007. And so since we had a lot of manufacturers in China, so basically we did the buy and the sell in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we get really started in the valve business. Yeah. And then later on, we started running to the manufacturing because valve is kind of pressure vessel. It's very important to have the safety and the quality. So we want to be part of the manufacturing process. So we started to find a Chinese manufacturer we do business with, and then we started doing a joint venture, and then we involved the quality program. And since then, we started to involve the manufacturing back in 2008.
Nice. And how about you, João? How did you meet Mr. Lee?
I have met Mr. Lee 2.5 years now. Just a background. My background involves started since 2005. And as everybody used to say in the market, that valve is a curse. Once you get in, never you get out. So that's true. So since then, I have passed through many Brazilian companies, valve manufacturers, international manufacturers as well. And now it's been 2 years that I am the country manager of FBV here in Brazil.
Nice. So FBV does handle business with many different countries, right?
Yes, FBV actually targeting all the international countries. They producing oil. Mainly we serve industry like the oil and the gas, petrochemical, chemical facilities. Yeah, so those are the most popular used places.
Okay. Yeah. And have you been in Brazil before this time?
Actually, this is my third time come to Brazil. Every time I come here, it's a little bit different. We see different people, and then we started growing business as well. First time I remember was for the flow control show, and then we come here back then. So that's my first time. I believe it was 6 years ago. I totally forgot.
And when you were young, have you ever imagined come over to different countries and met different cultures? And how was your idea about Brazil before you arriving? What do you minded and versus what did you found on the first time that you came?
So when we started, I was in the sales for a few years, and then after we bought the facility in China and it became a FBV facility, and I started moving to the operational side. So I didn't do too much visiting of the countries. And the last 2 years, and I started in charge of the sales. So I started visiting more and more countries. And the Brazil is one very big country and a lot of oil producing here. We see a lot of opportunities. But in past years, we don't have too much success because we don't have the presence in the local market here. Until we have John joined us, and he started exploring our business into this market. And currently, right now, we are approved by Petrobras and the Brasking. Our business started growing in this market, and there's a chance going out very well at this time.
But getting back to your childhood memories, how did you imagine Brazil and how, I mean, like for a Brazilian, I have the curiosity about how does American Chinese minded the country from overseas?
Actually, I come background from the China, and when I grew the birth when I was a young age, China is a very poor country. Not like nowadays, China have developed in a couple of decades, Back then, when I'm still in China, I start to imagine all the other countries is much better than China, and so we think all the other countries is very well developed. And then I moved to United States in 1996. So back then, and the US is very well. And when the time I come back to China again, China has grown a lot in 2 decades. And now I go back even more. So the country, right now, I've been visiting a lot of countries, and I see the chance also through the movement. All the countries started developing very well. And Brazil, I believe, is one of the countries I see a lot of development going on as well.
Nice. So I have a question for you, João. What do you think about the future of the energy? Do you think on the next 50 years, will oil be replaced by greener energies for the hydrogen, or do you think oil will still play a big role in our day-by-day activities, and this would be just easier to clean or whatever? How do you think about the future?
I believe that the oil it needs to exist for us, because through the oil, it's byproducts that we do the plastics. So there's no way how to remove the oil 100%. But we have now the transition energy, which is the gas. Okay, we are dealing with the renewable and the transition fuel, which is the gas. And other fuels that are the future because they are clean, like green hydrogen and other byproducts that are considered clean. So we are going towards the clean source, different from the today that oil and gas, which is definitely not clean. But we up to 2030, I believe that the difference is it will be big, but 2050 that the world expects the net zero. Let's see if we can get this net zero through clean energy, clean fuel, more or less like this.
Lee, how about the automation and the valves for this new source of energy, the green energy, the hydrogen? Is it more complex, similar, or easier? How do you could classify this as opportunities also for people that are doing automation and listening to us?
Yes, with right now, there's a more and more new the new fields being found out for the gas and the oil. So many places in remote areas. So with the actuation introduction, you don't need to have the maintenance people present at the place in order to control the valves. So actuation can be very handy, and the technology for the remote like the energy sources. And there is a new energy involved with the hydrogen. They're kind of like introduced with two different things. Hydrogen has been out there for a very long time. For example, the hydrogen there, the gray hydrogen, it became the byproduct from the oil we're digging out, But there also with a new technology in like a solar power or the windmill, those kind of produce electricity, and the hydrogen became media to store the energy. That became challenging for the industry right now. One of the main challenges, because like the hydrogen is very like it's a gas. It's very hard to store. So one of the way to store the hydrogen is kind of compress the hydrogen into the liquefy. When you go to liquefy the hydrogen, the temperature, it will go very low, go to negative 254 degrees.
Wow.
Once you go to the low temperature, that will create a lot of mechanical problems. For example, the software material, and then will classify it, and the material property going to change. And also will cause a lot of like the thermal expansion coefficient difference, then will cause a gap, and the mechanism how to seal under that pressure. It's also became a challenge for the industry. So those are the different. So with the new technology, the new energy sources coming out, and there's a new technology needed to develop. And the FBV as one of the main player in the valve business, we also have been trying to look into this one, like the LNG and the low temperature hydrogen technologies as well. We keep producing and trying to give the fugitive emission, like qualified products and to the markets as well. And the other way to install, like for example, you change the hydrogen into the ammonia. Then you can store that there as well. So those technology is well existing. So you don't need to do too much change on the current designs of the valves.
And I want to complement that. What is interesting, because when you have the hydrogen itself, it's very explosive.
Oh.
And when you turn it,
it's not something that people think a lot about, but you are super correct. Yes.
Yeah. So, but not just explosive, because the tiny atom, the molecule of H2, you have to need special kind of valves because it can cause the embrittlement, of the internal wall of the valve, for example. Mm-hmm. And also when you turn this hydrogen into ammonia is extremely poisonous to the end user. Mm-hmm. So now you have to deal with low emission valves, because if you have some kind of leakage to the atmosphere, it can damage the for example, the operator of the valve, something like that. Just a small quantity of the ammonia is very toxic to the human body. So one is explosive, the other is poisonous. So that's interesting.
So you were talking about fugitive emissions, right? Can you explain a little bit for people in home that are listening to us a little bit about this matter? I know that you are kind of authority on it, right? You study a lot about it, right?
Well, no. Fugitive emissions is because every valve, it has a small quantity that it leaks through the stem and the packing.
It's common because it's a mechanical device, correct?
Yes, because every molecule is tiny, and even this is measured by parts per million, ppm, ppmv for volumetric, for example. So in the United States, talking to about United States, they have the EPA method 21 that has all the rules.
EPA is their standard over there.
Yes, is do you remember the
Environmental Protection Agency?
So Environmental Protection Agency, that they have the method 21 that gives all the specifications that how you have to deal with the leakage, the emission to the atmosphere, what kind of gases they talk about, greenhouse gases, etc. But talking specifically about the valves, in US, it's allowed in valves maximum 100 ppmv. So it's good because our brand has much less than this. So this is one of
How about Brazil? Is there any standard about it?
Not yet, but if we have there is.
So it means that the valves could leak poison on the face of the operator, and it's all good.
There is some kind of internal specifications, but now I know that
You mean that every company
yes,
established their own standard
but
about
because
it?
we still don't have any regulations, federal regulations for that. But the good market, the good companies of the market are looking and they are going behind some examples in Europe.
Some international standards.
Exactly. So, and today we have the ISO 15848-1, which mainly is the European standard, and the American, which is API 624/6241 for a quarter turn and 624 for rising stem. So, and these are the standards that rules the market.
So attention, if you are a valve operator, if you work close to those devices, ask to your company to follow the more strict ones, right? Because
Correct.
otherwise you're leaking poison to your operation over there, or even throughout the environment.
Exactly. And this will be requested more and more from now on with environmental issues and COP28, etc. So this will demand worldwide such more strictly standards for fugitive emissions.
So Lee, what does a valve better for fugitive emissions than the other? What does it change it on the design or mechanically?
Actually, for the API meeting, we have been done a lot of study about how to make the fugitive emission better. And as João mentioned, the EPA enforces the law to have the fugitive emission valves into the facility. If you don't have the fugitive emission valves in the facility, then you're going to have fine for it. For example, you go to the facility, you don't see the leakage, but you can smell in the facility. So those are the leaking from the leaking main produced is by the dynamic seal. Usually for the chemical companies or the petrochemical companies, they have the mainly valves is the gate valves or group valves. Group valve gave out the stem seal with a graphite. And the graphite and the stem, and when you start operating and you still have rising stem, you start pulling out the graphite out. So there's a few things to it. So how well you're making the graphite to be more condensed, and that way you don't have the pulling out, and also there's oxidation testing for the graphite as well. They're testing standard according to API 622 standards, and also they were asking you for the the surface of the stem profile in order to criteria. So there's a few things to come into play in order to make the fugitive emission works, and so trying to limit the operation and under the 100 ppm for the leakage rates. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
João.
And just to close this subject, one interesting thing is that the API deals with CH4, okay, methane, and the ISO helium. So there's this difference between such a molecule for the testing.
So what you mean is that is there a standard for the molecule that is being tested over the...
For fugitive emission, yes, because USA and the API, they prefer CH4 because
It's thinner.
No, because they think it's better for detecting, to measure.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so because it's easier to measure the leakage.
Okay.
And,
how did you measure the leakage? With a gas detector? Something like that?
Yes, you have a kind of sniffers that sucks the air around, and by spectrometry, they will detect the quantity, the concentration. And the European prefer to use helium. Now they start as well to using CH4, but the basic difference was API CH4 and ISO 15848-1 use helium.
So how do you certify or do you test a valve to make sure it's 100 ppm, for instance, Lee?
So, for example, for the according to the API they want to use in the methane as a media because like methane is more similar gas as the used in the chemical plants. So they want to stick with the. And then for the ISO, they want the helium because helium has when you compress the helium, you don't cause a not flammable, it's stable gas. Mm-hmm. So they want to use a helium, and with a smaller molecule, easier to detecting leaking through there. So it's more stringent. The people thinking that way. So usually, like the getting certification for this one, we have the third party. They would come to look at your testing process and then verify that testing is according to the standard requirements. Then they will assign you with a certification saying your valve is passed this one. So this kind of testing is called like we call the prototype testing. It's called the validation testing. And according to ISO 15848, there's also CO2 type. CO2, it's like the dash 2, ISO the dash 2. It's kind of what we call the production testing. Basically, you do the 5 cycles, and then you measure the testing. So that's also the testing for the production testing. So when we mention about the testing according to the API, it's more like talking about the prototype testing to validation. Your design is meeting with this requirement because this is destructive testing. Operating the valve for 300 times, of course, you're going to have the effect on the quality.
Okay. And is there any shelf life of these low fugitive emission according to the amount of times that you open and close the valve, or not necessarily?
So there's operation for the testing is how to apply to 300 times cycles on the valves. But the packing you use with the fixture, you're testing with 1,500 times to ensure your packing is suitable. So those are when you put on the shelf, and because if you want to pass this kind of testing, in the past, the packing, a lot of people, they're digging the packing into the oil, and those are not be acceptable. You will not be able to pass in this kind of testing at all. So you will not facing the issue with drying the oil, and then you cause a leakage. In the past, people start dipping the packing into the oil, and then you packing, and after a while you sit on the shelf, and the oil starts drying, you start causing leaking packing. So now all of this 100% graphite, and some manufacturers, in order to easier to passing this one, they also adding some like the PTFE into the packing, and which will be very cautious for the end user to find out what's the temperature the packing can really take. So those kind of things, when the end user want to buy from the manufacturer, you need to verify with the manufacturer.
Usually, when we think about a valve, you just think about something open and closing, right? But as we are conversing right now, there's a lot of small and minor details that plays the whole difference.
Yeah.
Yes. You make a valve looks like a valve. It's easy. But if you get in the detail of the valves, then you can see the difference between the qualities.
And how did you learn all that, Lee?
So first thing, I started with the electrical engineering background, and then I started go back charging in the facility, and constantly we kind of see some problems. And then I started use my engineering background. I started digging into those books and trying to find out what's the root or cost of this one, and then apply the knowledge from what I learned from school. Then I can start matching up and find out what's the difference, how we can make a difference, make a better products.
How about you, João? What do you think is the future of valves related to fugitive emissions? Do you think do you see a bright future for Brazil? Even though the fact that we doesn't have any regulated standard here?
We still don't have a regulation so far in terms of Brazil, but in São Paulo state, we started with Sabesp, for example, that now is pushing for LDAR program. LDAR means leakage detection and repair. That you have to inform, to have this program, you have to inform the governmental departments that you have a plan and a program how you are going to find this leakage and how you're going to repair this leakage. So you have already some forms to fulfill when you start a new project, like a petrochemical or chemical. Okay, so they are already requesting this kind of information from the end user that will invest in this projects. But now with the ESG agenda, I believe that for future initiatives, they will demand a lot, for example, for this environmental equipment, and low emission valves is one of them. So I do believe that the future will require such type of valves. Okay, for fugitive emissions.
Nice.
And also fugitive became the mandatory according to the API standards.
Okay.
So nowadays, if you want to buy the API, for example, 600 or 603, it's mandatory. You have to be the API, like the 624 qualified. And it seems in this market, and it's not really picking up with the latest the standards. I think I was suggesting like for the major and the user should attending to the API meeting to know what's the latest trends and all the standards and complying with the latest technology and the standards. Yeah.
Yes. I am still learning from those big masters, but I also believe that we as industrial communities should be pushing the engineering teams, the authorities to move on and touch base and improve on this very important matter that is that all those fugitive emissions could cause to the health of our workers, our colleagues, and also our environment. So, guys, it's a super extensive matter. We could be here hours and hours talking, but we just wanted to give you guys a little idea about how it is the technology and how important it is to understand about this. So again, guys, thank you very much for the time, for the conversation. And we find people from home on the next episode. So it was a pleasure. Thank you very much,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
Thank
If
you.
you have any technical questions in the future, welcome to contact us. Alutal here. We are also in China and the USA presents there as well.
Sure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Obrigado, pessoal. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.